After the class rep finally gets Haruka's attention, he promptly panics, realizing he's got zero clue what to say to her. Worse, he doesn't even know her name, despite sharing the same classroom since forever. The class rep, ever the kind soul, is stunned at his level of obliviousness. Just then, the rest of the girls roll up on cue, except for the popular squad, who lurk behind Haruka like they're all collectively sharing a single brain cell. The class rep suspects Haruka's somehow messed with their heads. Hothka would love to say he's innocent, but the truth is, he's totally guilty. His magic accidentally turned the girls into his personal entourage, and now he has no clue how to fix it. He tries to explain, but surprise, no one's buying it. Frustrated, he gives up and tries to make a quick exit, only for the class rep to yank him back while she checks on Shimazaki. A little shake later, Shimazaki is back to normal. Relieved, the rep lets her guard down, which Haruka misreads as his cue to escape. Wrong. She still wants answers about the whole accidental subjugation thing. While the girls are chatting, Haruka, now left alone by a tree, gets bored and decides to practice his magic. Because what could go wrong? He tries to conjure up a basement for his house, but in classic Haruka fashion, he ends up burying himself up to his neck in the ground. Stuck and waiting, he's eventually found by the class rep, who is baffled at how he managed to get buried after she simply asked him to stay put. She digs him out, apologizing for doubting him earlier, since Shimazaki confirmed he was just trying to help. Haruka has zero recollection of ever volunteering to help, but since he's now being showered with thanks, he just rolls with it. Thinking his ordeal is finally over, Haruka tries to leave, only for the girls to protest. Apparently, he can't just abandon them in the wilderness. The class rep remembers Haruka casually mentioning he has a house, which is news to her. Haruka, ever nonchalant, says he built it in his spare time. The class rep is floored, since they've been struggling to string together a basic campsite. The other girls are equally impressed, whispering among themselves. The class rep asks how many people the house can hold, and Haruka estimates about 200, though some furniture rearranging might be necessary. With a tinge of jealousy but no better options, the class rep asks if they can crash at his place, seeing as they're effectively homeless. Haruka, internally panicking at the thought of hosting a house full of girls, eventually agrees. He leads them to his house, demonstrating his surprisingly excellent wilderness navigation skills. Turns out he's got a knack for finding his way around. When they arrive, the girls are blown away by the size and structure of Haruka's home. After roughing it for so long, having a roof over their heads is practically a miracle. As night falls, Haruka sets up a tent outside for himself, knowing he wouldn't survive a night sharing a house with all the girls. Just as he's about to call it a day, the class rep walks into his tent. She thanks him for everything, admitting she wouldn't have known what to do without his help. Things had been tough after the nerds and jocks left, and she'd felt responsible for keeping the girls together. Now, with food and shelter, morale has finally picked up. But even though the class rep is grateful, she feels like she's failed as a leader. Haruka, in a rare moment of wisdom, reassures her that she's being too hard on herself. She's kept everyone safe, and while they didn't face any monsters, it's not like they were ready for survival mode. Haruka reassures the class rep that the nerds were born for this while she's been winging it and doing a pretty good job. Though she feels better after his pep talk, she's still a bit envious of his accomplishments. After wishing him good night, she heads back to the house, leaving Haruka to process the day, struggling to sleep. The next morning, one of the girls shakes Haruka awake, announcing breakfast is ready. Still groggy, he asks for 5 more minutes, but the girl insists. Resigned, he asks what's for breakfast, expecting bland mushroom soup. To his surprise, it's fish. Overcome with excitement, he accidentally headbutts the girl in his joy. She's mildly injured, but Haruka is too ecstatic to notice finally something other than mushrooms. After the class rep sees Haruka's excitement over fish, she's bewildered, especially since he's been living by a river. It soon becomes clear why. Haruka, master of many things, is terrible at fishing. The girls catch fish daily, thanks to a trick they have. Curious, Haruka asks the class rep to show him their secret. One girl with lightning magic reveals her method. She zaps the water until the fish stop moving. Haruka, impressed, begs her to do it again. Though she's hesitant, she agrees he is helping them, after all. Just as she's about to unleash another lightning bolt, Haruka seals the lightning ball with his packing skill and tosses it into the river. Boom, fish caught. Plus, he now has lightning magic of his own, meaning he no longer needs Lightning Girl to help. The class rep, stunned, demands an explanation. Haruka casually mentions that his packing skill allows him to absorb elemental magic. It's a neat trick, but he doesn't think much of it. He sees his skill set as a collection of random, useless talents. While the other girls splash around in the river, Haruka sits with the class rep and asks about their game plan. She admits they're still figuring it out, but they want to catch up with the nerds by heading to the nearest village. The problem is they'll need to level up if they want to survive the forest. Reluctantly, Haruka offers to help them train. Soon, all the girls gather in the forest for Haruka's impromptu boot camp. He asks what their levels are, and they reveal they're all level 15 or higher. Haruka, at a measly level 7, immediately feels inadequate and doubts they need his help. To test their skills, he sets them up to fight level 6 kobolds. The girls, brimming with confidence, think this will be a cakewalk until the kobolds hand them their asses. It turns out the kobolds actually fight back, shocking the girls. With bruised egos, they retreat to regroup and plan a new strategy, which for some reason takes place in Haruka's magic tent. The tent expands to fit everyone, but Haruka wonders why they chose his space for the meeting. After some discussion, the girls head out again, determined to win. Haruka is glad they're motivated but remains skeptical about their chances. After they leave, Fish Girl approaches Haruka to apologize for her behavior. She confesses she was testing him to see if he'd take advantage of the situation, but now she realizes she was wrong. Haruka's given them food, shelter, and is helping them fight, so she feels she can trust him. She promises to wake him up with breakfast again tomorrow. Haruka, pleased with her newfound trust, awkwardly admits he still doesn't know her name, so he's going to call her Fish Girl. The next morning, Haruka happily accepts another fish from Fish Girl, but overhears the other girls discussing heading out to fight the kobolds again for revenge. Before they can leave, the class rep calls them back, reminding them they still need more training. She suggests they practice by fighting goblins first. The fight against the goblins, another disaster. Despite the loss, a few girls stubbornly believe they're ready for the kobolds, while others conveniently fall ill to avoid fighting. Haruka isn't optimistic, but prepares to jump in if things go south. To his surprise, the girls learn from their mistakes and manage to take down the kobolds through teamwork. The class rep congratulates them, and Haruka breathes a sigh of relief, thinking they won't need him anymore. Finally, he can return to his loner life. Not so fast. The class rep thanks him for agreeing to join them on their journey to the nearest village. Haruka knows he never agreed to this, but her insistence wears him down, and he reluctantly accepts. As the group packs to leave the forest, Haruka reminds them to stay on guard. They have no idea what might be lurking out there. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, one of the boys from class is running for his life. He makes the fatal mistake of looking back, trips on a rock, and is cornered by his pursuer. With no escape, he's strangled on the spot. And that's the end of episode 3. Be sure to subscribe to catch the next part.